to our first agenda for today's forum. Our first session is a business review panel discussion focusing on investments and real estate landscape in Dubai. For this session, let me introduce you to the moderator, our CEO and founder of Mr.Alfred, Oriol Plana. Let's give him a big round of applause, guys. Now the all-star panel. Let me first introduce Siddiq Farid, founder of Smartcrowd. He has a keen eye for long-term investments and strategic property management. Siddiq Farid, extensive expertise in navigating the real estate landscape, ensuring maximum returns for his clients. Big round of applause for Siddiq Farid, guys. Next up, we have Tahir, known as the Property Alchemist. He is a seasoned entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience managing real estate portfolios for different clients. His visionary leadership and strategic insights have earned him recognition as a trusted advisor in the industry. Tahir Majithia. Next up, we have Mr. Jumeira, Yasin Valimulla. Yasin Valimulla offers unparalleled insights into Dubai's real estate market and the dynamics of vacation industry. With a wealth of experience and a proven track record, he provides invaluable guidance to investors and property owners like Mr. Yasin Valimulla. All right, I have one more panelist, Daniel Asher. Daniel Asher ventured into property management in the residential sector in 2017 and then launched Holistic Homes in 2019. He is recognized as the Airbnb community leader for Dubai in 2021. We are honored to have him here. Daniel Asher, please, one big round of applause. Now that's done, I pass the mic on to Oriol Plana, who will moderate this session.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming, and apologies for the slight delay.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so anyway, so the topic today is going to be a real estate with a bit of focus on holiday homes. So we selected the panel because they have a lot of experience in real estate, but also an element in holiday homes. We got an introduction, amazing introduction. I cannot improve it. You want to give, I don't know, 1 minute additional background, or you want to add anything, or can jump to the questions? Siddiq, we can do this order now like this, and then we will do more free.
Dan, why don't you start, please?
We don't.
Yeah, there we go. Hello. Hi, my name's Dan Asher. I started Holistic Homes a few years ago, mainly as a little side project. My main business was in oil and gas. I've been in Dubai for about 12 years. It's home. I love it here. No plans to leave anytime soon. We have a beautiful real estate market here. I think it's one of the most advanced real estate markets in the world. Access to data is unprecedented. And yeah, a side project, a beautiful origin story with Airbnb, and it really kind of gave me a passion for working on this short-term homes business model. And so that's why I joined up to be Airbnb's community leader of Dubai. And we work pretty closely with DET and Airbnb and various other entities in the market.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. My name is Yasin. I've been in Dubai just over 15 years now. I did real estate back in the UK for 5 years, was with Countrywide there. In Dubai, I have generally specialized in beachfront communities, high-end luxury developments, especially Palm Jumeira, which is hence the name Mr. Palm Jumeira. I've worked for quite a multiple different number of agencies here. I was a partner with Knight Frank for 3 years as well. I currently am the founder of a company called Luxury Address, which we specialize mainly on beachfront communities and branded residences, which is one of the newer kind of topics now, and it's getting more and more, I'd say, interesting. The climate here for branded residences. In terms of short-term rentals, having been so focused with the Palm, I've seen the short-term rental market in the Palm flourish, especially when it comes to the villas as well. On the rent-to-rent concept, we think is something that we're going to touch upon later. So yeah, happy to be part of the panel and giving my view out as well. Thank you.
Morning, guys. I'm Tahir Majithia. I've been in Dubai for over 10 years. Been in real estate practically all my life. I used to do real estate back in India. Came to Dubai first time in 2005, fell in love with the city and always wanted to move here because the city is so fascinating. Finally got a chance back in 2013. So I'm here doing real estate. I own a company called Prime Capital. It's a boutique real estate firm which helps investors in buying, selling, renting, and managing their property portfolios. We also do a lot of development advisory for small developments, and we also do some small, independent villa developments ourselves. So all in all, real estate is what I know and what I've been doing for a very long time, and really glad to be here on the panel. And thanks for Mr. Alfred to giving us this opportunity. Thanks.
Maybe I should have gone first. This month I'll be celebrating my 10th anniversary being in Dubai. Came in 2014 in March, and this is home now. I'm actually trying to convince one of my school buddies to move over here. He's actually visiting, taking on a roadshow. I actually landed here. I took him to Dera and flew him straight out to Riyadh. So I'm doing it backwards and the way after. So he appreciates it a bit more. So I don't have sort of the pedigree of real estate over here. It's more of a passion for me. I'm a corporate finance geek. For my sins, I'm a chartered accountant, CFA charter holder. But I founded a company called Smartcrowd more out of a personal need. I wanted to invest in real estate and sort of struggling to access the real estate because it requires a lot of capital. So that's when the idea came of enabling micro investments, enabling people to own a fraction of the asset. It might sound exciting today, but when I started in 2017, 2018, it was a very scary thought because there was no legal regulatory framework. So we were the pioneers in terms of working with various stakeholders to make this a reality in terms of setting the regulatory framework and set up the legal structures to enable that. So we have many first of those kinds. We were actually the first tenant in this Gate Avenue, right there in FinTech Hive, when this was during COVID. Like this like a ghost at that time, right? So we've been doing this operationally for about since COVID. It took us 2 years to get a license. Ori over here, his first company, High Guest, was our first holiday home operator. We have about 130 transactions we've done on our platform, over 150, 200 million there in total. A third of our portfolio is short-term rentals with various strategies. They were our very first operator. So we started on this game a lot early before the whole holiday home sort of buzz caught on because we saw opportunities in the market even very early on. And I agree with Dan, data is very key in all of this. And my colleagues will agree, right? From a investment decision perspective, is very, very key element of what we do. So we'll talk more about that today. Yeah.
Yeah. So Siddiq already opened a lot of debate here, but when you go to a social gathering now in Dubai, I think there are two topics, right? The rain and the weather, and the real estate prices.
Bitcoin now, actually.
And Bitcoin, yeah. So let's get the question out of the way. What happens with the prices? I think here we have two experts in the market. So we open questions from the audience, and everyone is asking, what happens with the prices? Do we see a change in the trend? Because this affects a lot holiday homes as well. We see that the ROI of holiday homes is not that amazing because the rental prices are very high. So how do you see, Tahir, you can start. How do you see the market? Why do you see any change? I know we don't have the magic ball, but how do you see the market moving forward?
I mean, see, as of now, I see that somewhere the markets should stabilize, and they're showing some signs of stabilization. Again, it also depends on location to location because every location has different dynamics of demand and supply. So some locations have very high demand, and if the supply is limited, obviously there you will see prices not really cooling down. But if there are newer locations where the new properties come online and there you could see that. But yes, prices definitely, in my opinion, somewhere should stabilize soon. When it comes to a lot of people are asking whether will prices go down and will we see a correction? That is something which is very difficult to say, because as long as people keep moving to Dubai and new influx of people keeps coming, which means we will need more homes, and the number of people who will want to rent or buy will be more. So that, along with new properties being handed over, will actually determine whether do we see any correction or just stabilization. And in some areas, we probably might see even further growth, not at the pace what we've seen like in the last few years, but growing at say a 5 or 10% possible.
And Yasin, what about the beachfront properties? I mean, how do you see that market?
Yeah, I mean, the last I'd say just over 3 years now, since November 2020, beachfront communities probably the highest growth from any of the properties in Dubai. I mean, historically, beachfront properties have always done very, very well here. Yeah, in terms of rental returns, in terms of sales returns, in long term, short term, every term. Generally speaking, they're a safe bet, I would say. But when it comes to prices, yeah, I mean, the prices have, even for someone who's been here 15 years, the price increase have been unreal. I mean, the villas have tripled in price on the Palm. Villas that were 8 million 3 years ago, you can't get for less than 23, 24 million. And these are level entry standard villas. It was unheard of a garden home on the Palm, I'm specifically referring to, ever selling for more than 16 or 17 million. Recently, there was a transaction at 58 million on a renovated garden home. Yes, it was renovated. The owner had spent a lot of money, but the point being, it's still a 1,000 square foot villa. So the prices, yeah, I think we've seen a lot of growth in the last 3 years. In terms of, are we going to continue to see the growth? My personal take, especially with beachfront communities, I think Q4 this year, we're going to see maybe a ceiling being hit. I think we're getting there now anyway. Things have started slowing down. The pace, the percentage of increases have definitely slowed down. Do you think Q3, Q4 this year, I think we'll kind of hit a ceiling? What I don't see happening is going down. I think the demand for beachfront community is still very, very high. Even Nakheel just recently launched this. I forgot the villas in Nakheel Island, Dubai Island, sorry. And at those prices, what they were launched at for that location, everything sold out. And you're talking villas for anything from 10 to 35 million. In a location, historically, you would not class as a prime location, but things have sold out. So I think beachfront community in general, I think the prices will stay stable. In terms of return on investment for rentals, obviously rental prices are very, very high. So with what Oriol touched upon, obviously with holiday rentals, I think the guys that bought the properties years ago, their returns are absolutely fantastic because their initial entry level was much, much lower in terms of price. I think the guys that are buying into the market now, wanting to make, I'd say 8, 9, 10% in short term on beachfront, it's not going to happen on the current pricing point. And obviously the long-term rentals are also very high in terms of expectations as well. So with some of the owners, it's the security of having a property. A lot of people generally pay 1 or 2 checks still in this market, in these communities. So they'd rather take that money rather than being paid on a monthly basis. And obviously with short term, you know how it is, you've got peaks and troughs depending on the time of year. So in terms of pricing, I don't see the prices going down. I think we're just going to hit a ceiling. And I think this is going to be the new pricing now. I think Dubai was massively underpriced. Beachfront communities were massively underpriced. I've been saying it for years. People, you know, interestingly, I handled the Royal Atlantis when it was sold when I was with Knight Frank. When we launched that project, people did not believe that anyone would pay 7 million dirhams for a 2-bed. And that was a level entry apartment at that time. And we struggled for 4.5 years to sell that project. People didn't believe in it. People were just riddling it off. It's never going to work. COVID happened, 6 months downturn. November 2020, the market turned. We sold 10% of the project in 4.5 years. We then sold 90% in 1 year. that's when you realize the market's turn. Demographic of buyers change. It's not only Russians buying. I think there's a misconception. It's only them buying. It's mainly a lot of Europeans buying. If you look at the high super prime stuff, it's mainly Europeans that are buying. And for them, price per square foot, it's much more reasonable than your London, your Paris, your Milan, your LA, New York, whichever country you compare it to. So that demand, I think, will definitely stay. I think the super prime is probably one segment I think that might continue rising in price because there's a huge shortage in super prime projects, like really high end branded residences I'm talking about. So I think, you know, that with Dubai, there's no one answer. I think what happens on the Palm is very different to what happens in downtown, what happens in Business Bay. There's micro markets in every community, and within that micro markets, there's more micro markets. Palm has a market, but within Palm, there's 3 tiers of properties with different micro markets. It's very difficult to kind of carpet say this is what's going to happen. I also think, in other communities, I think there could be corrections coming. Just my take on it. I think there's been a lot of off-plan that's been sold. There's going to be people who bought off-plan on the essence of return on equity to buy, to hold for 6 to 12 months and get 100% equity return, a 50% equity return. Those things are slowing down. So you might see people not being able to get installments, which then creates an environment where you get motivated sellers. Motivated seller then means prices are a bit more reasonable. Then a new trend then tends to, this is when is become more reasonable. So I think that could occur with some of the communities that are further out, not necessarily the beachfront ones.
Okay. Well, a lot of information here.
Yeah, sorry, it's a bit long then. Yeah.
Amazing. No, amazing. I mean, so Siddiq, you wanted to add something about
No, it's just I deal with a lot of retail investors, right? It's like this question always sort of bothers me. It's like, are we afraid of prices going up, right? I didn't see these people asking questions. Are the prices going to continue going? Should I buy at that time? Like, why are we asking this question now? So the thing about Dubai, you have to understand, or any sort of asset class or cycle, right? What you want to look at are there cyclical issues or structural issues, right? So I echo my colleagues' comments over here. There are no structural challenges over here that can lead to any sort of correction and so forth. If you actually think from a macro perspective, there's a lot of positives, not just now, but for the next 10, 15 years, not just for the city, for the country, and for the region. You know, bull runs can go on for a long time, right? You know, we're obviously looking at this, all-time prices, et cetera, and so forth. Look at some other mature markets, look at the US real estate prices what has that over the last 10, 15 years has gone in one direction, right? That bull cycle has run for a long time. Mind you, low interest rates have a big play into it, but that's regardless of the point, right? It's been a bull run for 15 plus years. Why can't we see that in Dubai? If you just look at all the initiatives the government put in, the structural initiatives, we're starting to see, fruits of that labor now and just tipping, the iceberg at the moment. There's a lot more to come. You have the D33 plan, which is doubling the economy. There's a 2040 urban plan. So look at that perspective, right? They're targeting doubling the population over the next 10 years. That's another 2.5 to 3 million people coming into Dubai. And if you assume an average family of 5, right, that is, you do the math. You're looking at, you need at least 100 to 200,000 units a year to satisfy that demand, right? How many units did we add last year? About 40,000 units. You all hear about like headlines, new supply projects, etc. The actual realization rate in Dubai of off-plan projects is 40%. 40% of what's announced actually gets delivered. There's a lot of delays. So we just look at that from that perspective, the supply-demand ratio is very imbalanced. And we called it in 2018. We as Smartcrowd, because it's all about data, right? Supply peaked in 2017. It's been coming down ever since, and population has been going in the other direction. And we said it. Once the demand comes, it will come much quicker than supply can keep up, and you will have that flip. Our view was 2024 is when the market will turn. Obviously, COVID did that, right? COVID was a blessing for this space. And that has attracted a lot of these Western Europeans, people buying second homes, right? Changing their tax domicile. You interact with people all over Dubai now that have businesses or work in their home countries, but are moving over here because the connectivity of the place is phenomenal. 6 hours, you can cover 90% of the world, right? Time difference, you can serve different time differences. Like, quality of life is great. Cost of living vis-a-vis other metropolitan cities is second to none. So I'm like, why would I not want to live over here? Just continue working wherever. And the government has made that easier for people with golden visas, digital nomad visas, and so on, etc. And that's also creating a lot of opportunity, not necessarily in the holiday home, what I would call temporary accommodation, right? 1 to 9 months accommodation. And there's a massive opportunity in that place here, as well as places like Saudi Arabia and so forth. So it's a phenomenal time, right? I won't go back and talk about this for hours, but there's a very famous Chinese proverb: the best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The next time best time is today, right? But I do agree, you have to do your homework. It's not one size fits all. Dubai is a very fragmented market. You need to do your homework. You need to understand what you're buying and what your time horizon are. And you need to look at the total return, not just the income return you're getting from short-term or long-term, but also what's the capital upside on these, and look at the total return.
Okay, thank you. So the summary is the prices will stay, continue to increase probably in premium locations. So Daniel, what do we tell the hosts, the property owners, when they don't get the return they expect? So how as a holiday home operator or as an investor navigate this challenge in getting the ROI in holiday homes?
Thank you so much. Yeah, great discussion, guys. I think it's funny that we're in Dubai, which is a city built of hype and excitement, and yet we're all here just totally optimistic about the prices right now. So I'm gonna stick with that optimism. For holiday homes operators, yes, it's definitely got more difficult. I think it's really important to remain agile. I think it's really important to have a diversified portfolio, not having all your eggs in one basket. When we started our company just 5 months before COVID, we just were scaling up. We had 7 properties. COVID came. So it would have been easy to imagine that the company would have crashed and burned. And I was fully ready to just say, okay, I got bad timing, never mind. Fortunately, we had a couple of properties that we own. We did rental arbitrage on a few more. And then we also had some that we are managing for property owners. So very quickly, relationships was key. The relationships with our landlords. We spoke to our landlords midway through the contract and said, hey guys, this is what's going on. We've got no choice. If you like us as a tenant and you want to help us, let's have a discussion about the rent midway through the contracts. All of my landlords dropped the rent midway through the contracts. And in relation to the managed units, we just said, hey, you're probably better off taking a long-term opportunity right now. And so we gave some of those units back. So that flexibility and really helped us in the marketplace. But I think also, even with the prices high right now, I think we're all still quite optimistic about the situation. Like my personal experience was I bought in 2014 when prices were sky high. We know Dubai has this up, down, yo effect. I bought because rental prices got too high and I was sick of paying a landlord to cover his mortgage. So I bought a terrible price. It was 1.5 basically for a 1-bed in JLT, like unheard of back then. And after living there for a little bit, we decided to turn it into an Airbnb and we got positive cash flow out of that. We were making good returns, even with a bad investment. Well, it wasn't really looking too much about mortgages at that time. I didn't understand real estate investments at that time, but we turned a bad investment into a positive cash flow model. And like we were talking earlier, it was when you have this market maturing with the availability of data, with the strengthening, I think, and the property growth, I really think if you pick the right unit that's value, that's got demand, then I still think you can do a good business in.
Can I just add to that? Because for the benefit of our holiday home companies, just to give you some context, right? So we manage a lot of portfolio, relatively big portfolio. A lot of properties we have converted from short-term to long-term, but we have seen some opportunities. But one thing people don't talk about is the opportunity cost here, right? So in our portfolio, anything that we feel like we're going to sell within the next 12 to 24 months, it's on short term, right? For various reasons. One, right now, finding supply in the market is tough, even for brokers to sell, etc. Next to impossible. Find a vacant property, it's like finding a needle in a haystack, right? It's very, very difficult. So if you look at the data, vacant properties transact on average to 10% premium to the market, right? So having that optionality, if you want to exit your property, do short term, right? One, you can show it, it's furnished, it will show better than a tenant in property that is like tired and dated, etc., and so forth. So that's very, very critical. So anything that we wanted to sell, we kept it on short term. And with this temporary accommodation, we're seeing opportunities in places you would never think holiday home or short term would do well, places like JVC, right? And the reason for that is just like my friend, there's many people coming to Dubai to find jobs, start businesses, and they want to be in a community where there are other people, like-minded people, etc. And JVC has become that hub, and it's become a social hub of all things, right? That 5 Hotel has done wonders to JVC. We were in JVC in 2018. We're like, what the hell are you doing? They're building so much. I'm like, but there's demand, right? I don't care if the supply is good, as long as there's demand. There's no demand, then you want to be worried about the supply situation. So we've actually gone the other way, where we are turning our downtown marina into long term. Actually, we've actually sold a lot of our marina stuff, and we're converting our JVC into short term because we see a massive opportunity there. You can buy a studio, depending, there's tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, anywhere from 400 to 700,000, and you can rent short term and generate anywhere from 55 to 75,000 gross on it, right? That's remarkable returns. So keeping that in mind, I'll give you an example. Some of our investors, we bought a holiday home apartment. We did a lot of budget marina strategy. It worked wonders, right? Because not everybody wants to spend 500 dirhams a night, right? There's a lot of people that want to be on the metro, spend 200-300. So on the first trip, there's a lot of budget buildings. We bought in one particular property, but the holiday home market has been over the last 12, 18 months in terms of returns. So people were like, you promised us, X amount of returns, we're not getting it. I'm like, but you have to look at the overall return, and you can't be short-sighted, right? Real estate is a long term. So we ended up selling that unit just to prove the point. We bought it at a good price. It was furnished. It was vacant on transferred. We sold it at a 10% premium to the market. It was the highest transaction. We actually had bought 2 units. We sold the second one. I didn't want to sell it, but I got harassed and it was a really good offer. To show the point that if you look at the overall return, yeah, you made less on the income than what was expected, but you made up in that and on the capital upside, where your return was double digits, on an annualized basis, like 16, 17%, something that was bought 13 months ago, right? Not even something that I bought in 2018 or 2020 when the market was down. We bought that in up market. So that optionality is extremely crucial for the benefit of my holiday home operators over here.
So I think we got very good tips here. No? Flexibility, transparency, even if the numbers are not great. Sorry. The optionality of selling. Yeah, sorry.
Also, I'd like to add is that what has happened with holiday homes and vacation rentals, a lot of people who buy in Dubai do not live in Dubai. Okay, they're overseas investors. And vacation rentals and holiday homes has given them that flexibility to use their property whenever they want. So the trend is actually increasing because there are a lot of people who bought homes. They want to come and spend 1 month, 2 months, 3 months in a year, and the rest of the time they put it on holiday homes. This gives them a lot of flexibility, income, and this trend is quite increasing overall.
Okay, so an additional one is the flexibility to use the apartment, especially these Western Europeans that use it as a second house. So now it's an open question. Whoever wants to answer, feel free. So what are we looking at when trying to identify a property either for holiday homes, rent to rent, or even to try to go after costs for management. So which characteristics would you say we'll need to look into when selecting a property and we say, hey, this property is perfect for short-term rent? Daniel, maybe you do this exercise.
Sure, I'm happy to take this one. Location, location, location. Of course, that's number one. You've got to be somewhere that's in demand. Don't go way out into the desert just because it's a cheaper price and you can get a good deal. There's a reason why sometimes those good deals come around, because the demand is less. I also think you can turn a, let's say, standard unit into something nice with the right design, decoration, fit out. And this is something that I think you need to capture the attention and capture the demand of someone. If you can find one unique element within your property, either a fantastic view, huge patio, open plan, massive kitchen, whatever it may be, try and find that one unique identifying factor and play on that in the fit out and design. I think you can get value from that.
Siddiq, I think you do a lot of exercise of identifying holiday homes.
Yeah, just generally, not just specific to a holiday home, right? So I'm a boring accountant, right? So for me, cash flow is king. Location comes second, if I'm being very, very honest, right? So the terminology that we use is the serviceability of the unit. And it's a very loaded word. The point of the serviceability is how easy is it to rent? How easy is it to sell? Right? Because you don't want to be stuck in an asset that doesn't perform, right? Because for us, it's all about maximizing returns. So that serviceability, obviously, location comes a big part of it, but who's a developer? And one thing people don't look at, that we look at it very religiously, is who's managing the building, right? Because there are some really good buildings, some good developers handed over to some management companies that have made a shit show of it. So pardon my language. So that's also a very key element, because you want people walking into the building, they're like, wow, okay, I'm in a nice building. So important. Then service charge ratio, right? It's no longer a big issue. It was a big issue when the rates were very low. So we have that ratio has come down quite a bit because the rents have gone up. So anything that's about 15% in terms of service charge to rent ratio, I get nervous, right? Because that means most of your cash flow is going to service the carrying cost of that particular property. So these are some elements that we look at to understand the serviceability of the unit, and whether it's long-term, short-term, the fundamentals doesn't necessarily change from that perspective.
And what about the investors? So Tahir or Yasin, what's the appetite of an investor? What do they ask?
I mean, look, when investors are investing, the first thing obviously they ask is the ROI. And what's the kind of rental return they'll get, and if they want to sell, what kind of appreciation they look at. But also along with this, what is very important to see is that when you're getting into a property, if it has anything which is unique, especially say if it's a particular layout which is less in the whole thing, not too many units, that's where we see a lot of people, high demand. If that unit is something which is really appreciated by either tenants or end users both. So, when you're seeing a property from a investment point of view, or, even for holiday rentals, if it's a unique property, if you can give a unique experience to your guests, that really works. I mean, we have clients who really upgraded their properties and made it really unique, and even though they are larger penthouses, still the occupancies and the kind of rate they can command is really high. So I would say anything which is unique and less limited in numbers, that's something which is very important when you're seeing as an investment.
I mean, with the majority of investors I deal with, it's a mixture of capital growth and ROI at the same time. It's not necessarily just the income side of things. It's how much they think it can appreciate in the next 2 to 5 years, or whatever their timeline might be. Generally speaking, I do focus mainly on the beachfront stuff. This is where my knowledge is. And communities like Emaar Beachfront have done incredibly well compared to, if you look at what their initial outlay was, their purchase prices. So they've seen massive capital appreciations. They're seeing double digit in terms of short-term rentals, even long-term sometimes. And like I say, it does come down to where the location is. If you can be in an incredible building in Emaar Beachfront, but if you've got a unit on the side that has no view or there's a construction still underway, then 100% it's going to suffer in terms of the kind of return you're going to get. So I think it's trying to tick all the boxes where, you know, the location's great. Hopefully there's going to be good capital appreciation. The income's going to be good. And at the same time, I also have investors who do want, maybe they don't have the budget to spend X amount on beachfront properties. I had a client, interestingly enough, who wanted a couple of studios in it was very recently. And I don't really know too much about JVC. And I was like, you sure about JVC? And they said, yeah, how come? They said, I've got 2 studios currently and they're making around 10% on the short term. And I was genuinely quite taken back because I didn't realize that's the kind of growth they were getting. I said, how did you do? I mean, what was the value add? So this is where the value add comes into. So this friend of mine or client of mine had bought 2 studios in a development, I can't remember the name, where the floor to ceiling height is 5.8 meters, I believe. She then created a mezzanine level and basically made it into like a 1-bed. And then she's doing the holiday homes on booking.com, whichever websites they're using, as a 1-bed. And she was making incredible returns. So she was getting double-digit growth. So I think there's opportunities everywhere. And even though I generally, you know, specialize in beachfront, I think he's trying to think outside the box where there are opportunities in places like JVC where you get a studio for, I think she was buying them for 600 and something thousand dirhams. So in that initial out there, and then the return she's getting more than covers the mortgage. It's a positive cash flow. So I think it's just being smart about where you buy, location, you know, your end, your liquidity in terms of if you want to sell, can we sell tomorrow as well? So I think if it ticks a lot of these boxes, I think it generally works.
Just a couple of things. So anything in JVC, mostly on the ground floor, has those high ceilings and you can convert it into lofts. It costs you like 20,000 and the return on that is phenomenal.
Yeah, she said it costs her 15,000 just to get the...
Exactly, right? If you furnish it, et cetera, and so forth. But on just the investor part, right? You have to understand the psyche of the investor and then also who the potential buyer of this property will be in the future. So you have to do your homework. You can't be lazy, right? Again, one size doesn't fit all, right? So for example, beachfront, when you have a slew of towers coming in that prime location, don't be cheap. Buy the best thing, right? You will get your return back. Because if you don't and you try to go for the cheapest one on a low floor side facing, the people that are going to come and buy over there, they're not buying for the address. They're buying there. They want to wake up to a beautiful view and they'll pay top dollars for it. So that's very critical. On the vice versa, you're looking at something in like other affordable areas. Don't ask for the view, right? Ask for the best price. So just understand in different locations, you have to do different, right? A lot of people say don't buy stuff like with poor views. I'll give you examples because it's not one off. We've done 3 in Marina where we bought one in Marina Residence on the first floor. You open the balcony and you can touch the metro bridge, literally. That is not, you probably can, but just you get my point. We bought one in Studio 1 on the 6th floor. You're facing the bridge onto Blue Waters, and one in Space Central Studio, you open the balcony and the ACs are there, right? All of them we bought dirt cheap, knowing when the market moves, yes, they will trade at a discount, but they will also appreciate. All 3 of them on an annualized return basis, more than 20%. We've sold all 3 of them in this market, right? 20% annualized return, net of all fees on all 3 of them. And they were like crappy floors. We actually had one floor that was managed by these guys, but we'll talk about that.
I just want to add one more point to that as well. So you mentioned the service fees as well. We live in a market where you can get access to the service fees of every building in UAE, in Dubai. This is amazing. You literally find out what the service fees are in the building. I'm on the chairman of the homeowners committee on one of the buildings that we work in. And so every year we get to review the budget of the building. I did a comparison of what our management fees were per square foot compared to other towers that are similar. And we said, no, we're not signing the budget off until you reduce. So this access to information is so key. And that's why you can make those smart investments. And you look and dig into the data, it is there.
No, that's something which every investor should look at because the data for all the transactions is out on public platform. The Dubai Land Department puts out all the data, whether it is for sale or for rental. You can actually check how much did an apartment sell for or rent for. And going through that data properly and understanding and reading that data is very important if you're making any decision today.
Actually, the only missing piece of data in in the real estate market is the holiday homes. But Mr. Alfred will solve that soon. So I think it's the best way to finish that one.
Good luck. I like that.
I think we had very good tips and advice. But if you have any question, now we have 10 minutes for questions. So feel free. Wait for the.
Hi, I am Samet. Just regarding the last topic, where can we find these service charge prices and rental prices? Which website?
So in terms of sales and rentals, there's a website called DXP Interact. So DXP Interact is actually run by Farm Properties, which is a real estate brokerage. It's an open source, so everything that DLD publish, they take it, put it in very easy to digest numbers. So historically, it was very difficult to understand what things were selling for. And before you had Read-In and Property Monitor, which when I was at Knight Frank, this is what we used to use. But even those websites were very limited. It'd give you a villa sold on front, whatever, and the price and the square footage. It doesn't really give you an indication of what the property was. So with these websites, you get the full info in terms of how much it sold for, the date it transferred, the unit number. So when you're making comparisons and when you're trying to do your own research, it really cuts out a lot of guesswork. In terms of the service charges, I'm not sure. Which website? That's RERA. Okay.
Yeah.
Directly.
It takes a little while to dig through and find it, but
Thank you.
Any other question? Yeah, here.
Yes, my question is Mr. Tahir. You said the property which has less, supply will probably be more in demand. Like, for example, one has to do research on buying a 1-bedroom or a 2-bedroom. How does one judge what the demand would be? I mean, logic says that most of the tourists that come in would need a studio or a 1-bedroom like hotel room. But what about the big families coming from Saudi and different?
So I'll tell you what, when you're doing your research, first of all, understanding what the layouts are also very important, because in that you will come to know, okay, there are certain different types of layouts or are the same types of layouts. You need to identify because what happens is in a lot of buildings, there are certain types of layouts which are very limited in number, and there are certain types of layouts which are a lot. Usually, we've seen that the units which are limited in number, there would be maybe slightly bigger units, or they have something little extra, and they're probably, as Siddiq said, they might not be the cheapest unit, but they would probably be the best unit. So that is one thing. Second thing, it's not that my personal experience has been that it's not that only studios and one beds work on holiday rentals. We're seeing the bigger units, in fact, do even better than the studios and one beds in certain cases. Then obviously it depends on which location it is. Now, maybe like, for example, a 3-bed penthouse might not do that well in JVC, but doing really well in downtown or Palm Jumeirah. And maybe a studio might not work very well in downtown, but JVC, it's really making good returns. So it also depends on, who your target audience is, because if you're having a property, say on Palm or downtown or beachfront, you're targeting someone spending much higher than a JVC or other areas.
The question is how to ascertain demand. I mean, we can target 3-bedroom people, advertise it.
Yeah.
But how, like data points
Yes.
at DXB Interact that shows actual transactions.
Yeah.
How does one go about researching demands?
See, demand is you also need to see what the prices they are selling at. One is that, and the increase in the price compared to say, for example, a building has 3 types of units, 1, 2, and 3 beds. You take what were they selling, say 3 years back and now, and you'll get to understand that which has given more appreciation. The property which is selling at a much higher price, more appreciation, is more in demand. If, say, for example, a one bed was selling at 1 million and today it's selling at 1.5, a two bed of 2 million is selling at, say, maybe 3.5. That means the demand for the two beds are more than the one beds.
If I can just add two things for your benefit there, right? So if you look at Dubai overall, about 80% are apartments, 20% are townhomes, villas, right? So we're talking about population growth, right? This is people living over here, not tourism, etc. So you need to do some research on that. Hey, which area, which segment do you want to target, right? If you think more families are coming, etc., there'll be more demand for, for entry point townhomes, villas, larger apartments, etc. Historically, there's been a lot of singles, bachelors, young couples living and moving over here. So studios, one beds generally have done quite well. In fact, I think studios and two beds have done better than one beds, right? There's reasons for that, that we can get into more details offline. So look at from that perspective, then look at an area, because you can find that on DXB Interact and all of this. Okay, what are the supply in this particular project? What's the supply of studios? What's the supply of one beds, two, three beds, etc. In certain areas, three beds won't make sense. You avoid them. In certain places, that's the only thing that makes sense. Studios don't make sense. So you need to understand the dynamics, graphics of each. That will help you narrow down. On Tahir's point, floor plan, that's a very key point. But you also have to be able to take that one step further, right? In the sense that in certain places, certain areas, it doesn't matter, right? So the investor, for me, the smaller the size, the better, because the service charges are low. If I'm renting a studio that's 350 square feet and 420 square feet, that's a big significant difference on service charges. If you look at that as a percentage of the difference in rent, it's immaterial. It's going to rent for 55, that's going to rent for 55, but I'm going to be paying 10% more in service charges over here. So I'm going to go for the smaller unit per se. However, in certain buildings, certain places, given the demographic, you won't want the bigger one because it appeals to the audience that you're going for. So looking at that from that perspective will also help you narrow down your supply.
I'll also just add to that, you have, from the short-term rental side, you have airdna.com. It's not a perfect platform. The data isn't 100%, but you can very easily check occupancy level and which units, one bed studios, two beds, three beds, etc. This gives you like fairly accurate data on the performance from a short-term rental perspective, so you can kind of assess that demand.
More questions? No. And also to add to the service charge discussion, sorry for the question. If you realize, Emar is building very small apartments now, and I think they're targeting holiday homes.
That's not just MR, that's the trend. So if you look at Dubai, the average studio in the past used to be between 400 to 500 square feet. That is down to 330 to 360 with the balcony, right? The ones in the River, maybe we shouldn't take names, but you can't even open your closet door. You have to convert it to sliding door.
You cannot put side tables in the apartments. I don't know if you had this
You
issue.
put a bed and you cannot open your closet.
No.
You have to convert them into sliding doors.
You need to leave the phone in the living room, which maybe it's good, actually.
No, you can't even sleep anyways.
Anyway, we have a question.
One beds were average 700 plus. They're down to like 500 to 600 square feet. Two bedrooms are below 1,000 dirham square. That's not a bad thing, right? Like if you compare this to other metropolitan cities, this is pretty standard pricing, which comes down to the point, right? Price per square foot. Don't, when you go investing, etc., please do not focus on the ticket price, million plus, 1 million. Look at the price per square foot. That allows you to do apple to apple comparisons.
That's funny because I actually live in Azizi. Yes. Hello, everybody. My name is Luis.
Can you get your clothes from the?
So listen, let me quantify. This is Azizi Riviera. I just visited one apartment.
Yeah.
There are other Azizi apartments that are quite big and quite large.
Yeah, I'm in Azizi Riviera 7. It's like 65 square meters, so it's pretty small. Pretty comfortable. But anyways, my name is Luis. So moving away from market analysis and all of that, I just wanted to get an understanding in terms of negotiating with landlords when it comes to arbitrage. I think most of us are trying to understand how we can get to actually sign the contract between a regular lease and an arbitrage lease. So if you guys could maybe talk about that.
We have a panel about this later, like the next one after the break. But if you have you've done arbitrage, so you can.
Yeah, I think you really got to. It's really based around the relationship, and you got to offer value. You got to find ways to offer unique value that others. You got to be reliable. And I remember one of our best performing units. I ended up paying the guy 10,000 dirhams cash just to be like, look, please trust me on this. I'll even pay you cash. Just let it do it. And now he absolutely loves us. He wants to give us more units, but it was that first jump, to get that trust and build the relationship. That's probably the best thing I could.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think we reached the end of the panel. I want to thank, because I think it was amazing. So thank you very much.
Next Gen Rentals is brought to you by our main sponsor, Mr. Alfred. Mr. Alfred specializes in making vacation rental management effortless.